Okay, so I know I'm a little late to the game on this one. I've been meaning to do a video about the Fantastic Four trailer. I think there's about 3 of them out now. I was on vacation, just got back 2 days ago, and I'm seeing YouTubers talking about the trailer, talking about end-credit scenes involving Doctor Doom and so on and so forth. So I figured, let me just weigh in, even though I'm coming in way late in the game. So first thing is, you got to understand, the first comic book I ever bought was the Fantastic Four. I was probably, I don't know, 12, 13 years old. And I've been collecting Fantastic Four. I think I have every issue from number 25 up until roughly around the time I stopped buying comic books altogether because they got too expensive and they got a little bit too complex. And it was around the time when the Marvel Ultimates line came out. That was probably, what, early 2000s, I think, 1999. And then I had bought a couple of books after that. It was during Jonathan Hickman, his run, and I just couldn't get into it at all. So I kind of said goodbye to comic books, at least the new generation of comic books, right? But anyway, I kind of think I know what I'm talking about when it comes to Fantastic Four. All right, so looking at this Fantastic Four trailer, or the trailers that have come out. I've always believed that there's no way you can depict the Fantastic Four on screen without them looking silly. Reed Richards and stretching. There's no way you can make that look believable or without or make it look like something I don't want to laugh at. For those of you who remember the CW Flash series, where they had the elongated man on there, they put in the best effort to make it look like serious, for the most part from what I remember. But it still ended up looking silly. Ironically, the Josh Trank Fantastic Four film, it probably was the best at making Reed look believable, or to make him look like something I didn't want to laugh at when he stretched for the 1 or 2 scenes that he did. The Tim Story Fantastic Four movies, I mean, the effect looked fine, but they had him doing stupid shit, like dancing on a disco floor and stretching his fingers underneath a door. Anyway, and the Human Torch, he always looked like he was an animated character. If you remember the old Superman serials, I forget was it Kirk Allen? Whenever Superman would have to fly, they would cut from Kirk Allen on set to an animation of Superman flying. Well, whenever Human Torch would flame on, it never looked realistic to me. It looked like it was an animation. He always had just yellow globes for eyes and a yellow slit for a mouth, and it didn't look very realistic to me. That's one thing I'm going to say about the trailers I've seen thus far. Human Torch looks really good from what I've seen. The Thing, particularly in the scene where he's cooking in the kitchen, that is my John Byrne, Joe Sinnott Thing. That looks exactly from the book, with the rock eyebrow and the blue eyes, and it looks great. I am happy about that. This is the best looking Thing I've ever seen in any of the movies that have come out with the Fantastic Four. I'm not too sure about Ben Grimm's voice. I don't know. I'm used to the Thing's voice being gravelly. Sounded like he just swallowed a lot of rocks. I'm not gonna quibble over that too much. I mean, that's cool, but I don't know. The voice doesn't really hit me the right way. Vanessa Kirby as Sue. Okay, she wouldn't have been my first choice. My first choice would have been Margot Robbie, but she's already done Harley Quinn so many times, at least a couple times that might be hard to swallow. I don't know. I mean, we've seen other actors play multiple superhero characters, I believe. So I would have liked Margot Robbie, but okay, Vanessa Kirby's fine. The Human Torch, as played by Joseph Quinn, I think that's his name. He was in A Quiet Place Day 1. He's a good actor. He's not the look I think of when I think of Johnny Storm. When I think of Johnny Storm, I think of a playboy, good-looking guy, nice hair, the guy who pulls all the ladies. This is not Joseph Quinn, but from what I've seen, I think he's going to do a good job as well. I'm good with it. His hairline is not where I would want it to be, but I think he's going to do a good job. Okay, I do think that shot of Galactus walking down Fifth Avenue, I thought that was pretty dope too. When I first saw how big Galactus is in terms of his shadow, I was like, that's some bullshit. But then I was told, or I read somewhere, that in later iterations of Galactus, I guess after I stopped reading Fantastic Four, he is able to change his size. So, all right, I'm going to let that one go. Now, having said all that, Let's go to Reed Richards. Pedro Pascal, I'm checking him out in The Last of Us. I checked him out in Mandalorian. I think in his contract with Hollywood, it says, you must offer every film to me before anyone else gets a chance. Because he's in everything. That's one of the issues I have with him playing Reed Richards. He's too overexposed. That's the first thing. That's the least of my problems, though. The second thing is he doesn't look like Reed Richards. He does not fit the image of Reed Richards. Has nothing to do with his acting ability. I promise you, because the last 3 episodes of The Last of Us, particularly the one, it was a flashback with Pedro's character. I can't remember his name. It had me in tears. There's a scene where Pedro is talking to Ellie, played by Bella Ramsey, and he is crying his heart out, and it moved me. This guy is a great actor, but it doesn't mean he can play every role. And he is not Reed Richards. That's the first problem I have right there. At least, if you're going to play Reed Richards, shave the mustache. Is that in your rider, on your contract as well? The mustache stays? You know who looks like Reed Richards? Ioan Gruffudd, the guy who played Reed Richards in the Tim Story Fantastic Fours. I wouldn't have a problem bringing him back. I would not. He looked like Reed Richards. If I put my mind to it, I could go on Google right now and probably find at least 5 other actors who look like Reed Richards more than Pedro Pascal. Now, can they act like Pedro Pascal? I don't know. But hey, it wouldn't be the first time that Hollywood has cast an unknown that we, the audience, had never heard of before, no clue about what this person's capability as an actor was. Anybody heard of a movie called Sinners, starring a guy named Miles Caton in his debut performance, who murdered it, killed it? I'm not even gonna get into his off-screen antics. I really don't care. The guy looks like he's having fun. And I'm not a homophobe, so I don't care. Let him do what he does. I can separate that. A lot of people are making hash out of that. I just don't think he's Reed Richards. Okay, here's the other issue I have with this. Characterizations. Okay, Reed Richards is the smartest man in the Marvel universe. I don't care about Shuri. I don't care about Riri. I don't care about any of these other people. Bruce Banner, yeah, they're smart. They can be genius level all they want to be. But Reed Richards is the smartest man in the Marvel universe. End of story. He developed unstable molecules, which all superheroes use, at least in the books, when I was reading them. These costumes where you can flame on and they don't burn up. You can go from Ant-Man to Giant Man and your costume doesn't rip. That's because, at least when I was reading the books, that's because Reed Richards, the smartest man in the universe, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or the Marvel Universe in the books too, he created unstable molecules. He found the negative zone. So there's no question. He's the smartest guy. He is the leader of the Fantastic Four. So why is it in all of the trailers, it looks like there's this, I hate to use this word, starts with an A and ends with an A, agenda for girl power, which I don't have a problem with. I don't have a problem with it. I do have a problem with it when it goes counter to an established character. What am I talking about? Why does it look like in all these trailers that they're positioning Sue to be the spokesperson, to be the leader for the Fantastic Four? She gets all of the rah-rah lines in the trailers.
Are you the protectors of this world?
Yes, we are. Whatever life throws at us, we'll face it together.
These are the lines that she's saying. These are the lines that Reed Richards should be saying. Now, if they wanted to do something where maybe by the 3rd act of this film, Sue Richards comes into her own and becomes a much more overt character, fine. Because in the books, it looks like, well, let me go back. It looks like they're taking this from with a 60s kind of futuristic 60s kind of aesthetic, where in the books, and this, which the Fantastic Four books came out in the early 60s, it was a sign of its time, where women were relegated to damsels in distress. Now, and that kind of thing. Even Sue Storm was. I wouldn't expect to see that at all. But what I don't want to see is that Sue is leading the Fantastic Four. That will be a problem. I think Reed has maybe 2 lines, and both of his lines are just like, one of the lines is like, "This is my fault. I opened their eyes. I drew them to us." So he's admitting he did something wrong, okay? Which maybe he did, but it's a defeatist line. There's another line where someone says, "Are we okay? Are we safe?" And he looks at the guy and says,
I don't know.
that's not a Reed Richards line. Then there's another line where I don't know if they're trying to redeem this character in the trailers at least, where he's standing at a podium and he says something like, "We will protect you." But because it's played by Pedro Pascal, who always has a hangdog look on his face, it just doesn't come off very effective to me. Here's another problem I have with it. In the most recent trailer, I think it's the most recent trailer, you've got Johnny Storm sitting at the dinner table, and then Reed and Sue come in, and he starts bitching and whining about them coming to dinner late. That's not Johnny Storm. That's not Johnny Storm. Johnny Storm wouldn't give a shit what time his family's coming in. As a matter of fact, he's probably the one that would be going out trying to, meet some people, we'll put it that way, meet some feminine companions, and he would be the one showing up late. But I fear that this movie is going to be afraid to tread ground that is established with these characters because we're in the 21st century, where it's still okay to have some of these characters behaving that way, as long as it's not offensive or egregious. So I got a problem with that. I'm also a little concerned about this whole conceit of the Fantastic Four are in what it appears to be an alternate universe, this alternate retro futuristic, I was going to say steampunk, but I don't know if that applies here, but they're in this alternate timeline. And then at the end of Thunderbolts, we saw a end credit scene where the Thunderbolts are viewing a monitor screen, and it's a spaceship, and then they zoom in and it says 4 on it. So I've seen speculation that maybe they're coming from that alternate timeline to the 616 timeline. That's possible. Now, in this video that I saw, this speculation, and it's what I was thinking too, but they reveal that in the end credit scene of this Fantastic Four film, and if you don't want to hear this, just fast forward, Victor Von Doom makes an appearance in the end credit scene. So now there's all this speculation about, okay, well, is Victor Von Doom from this retro period as well? And he's on the spaceship with the FF, and or whatever. Just a lot of stuff that I saw in this video that was interesting. But it's like, okay, why are we making it so complicated? Why not just put him in 616 to begin with? Is it because you got a director? I forget who's directing this thing, but he just wants to stamp his mark on it. He wants to do it in the 60s. Maybe he's a fan of the Stan Lee, Jack Kirby Fantastic Four at the beginning when they came out in the 60s, and he just wanted to put that on screen, but he's got to get them into 616 in the 21st century. I don't know. Just seems like we're making this way more complicated than it needs to be. And the last thing I kind of have an issue with is, and I'm on shaky ground here, my Silver Surfer is Norrin Radd. Okay? Now, we got a female Silver Surfer in this movie. Maybe that is concurrent with the books. My understanding is this female Silver Surfer is Shalabal, who is Norrin Radd's lover, wife, on Zenla, both of their home planets. Now, maybe Shalabal was the Silver Surfer in the books at some point. Not in the books I read. I just remember it was Norrin Radd. I remember Terrax the Tamer became one of Galactus's heralds. And then, most interesting was when, in the books, Johnny Storm's girlfriend, Frankie Ray, became Nova. That was dope. I loved that. So if we're going to have a female Silver Surfer, personally, Since we're establishing this Fantastic Four as introducing them into the MCU, I want to go back to the OG days where we had Nora and Rad. That's me talking. Okay, but if you're going to do a female Silver Surfer, fine, I'll get over it. But why not make it Frankie Ray? Okay, no one knows who Shalabal is. Well, okay, no one knows who Frankie Ray is, but I know her. I know who it is, and that's who I want. No, I want Nora and Rad, but if it's got to be a woman, make it Frankie Ray. You could do a story where Johnny Storm loses his girlfriend to Galactus. Maybe that's part of the third act where I don't want to go all into it. All right, I'm rambling here. But these are the issues I have with this trailer. According to what I'm seeing from other YouTubers, that there have been test screenings and the movie tested pretty well, which is great. Okay, let's see what happens when it hits the theaters with a full release. Okay, that's my rant. That's all this was. This was just a rant. I apologize. I'm sure many of you probably will disagree with me, or maybe some of you will agree with me. Either way, let me know. Leave your comments below, and I'm sure we'll be revisiting this very soon. All right, guys, take care.